In this occasion, we will focus on a very important topic for our body health. Foods that can be harming your heart, such as fries, processed foods, and excessive red meats. These are the main enemies of a healthy heart and that can take you to suffer a cardiac disease, or worse. The World Health Organization informs that 32% of registered deaths in the world are due to heart diseases. This implies 18 million people in different parts of the planet. This is why today I will talk to you about different foods that you may be consuming and can be causing cardiac damage. So, make sure you stay till the end of this video to know what are the main foods that can be harming you. In order to have a good cardiovascular health, not only should we think about what we should do or consume, but also in what we should avoid. Now, if we move this to the eating side, not only will we have to empower the consume of those beneficial foods to the heart, such as olive oil, dry fruits, or avocados, but also avoid those that are harmful. Now, if you wish to take care of your heart, you should restrict or eliminate from your diet those foods that represent a threat so that you can maintain a healthy life. The foods you ingest can either liberate or guide you towards high levels of cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, and various heart problems like hypertension, and increase the risk of suffering a heart attack. In order to have a healthy heart condition, the most important aspect of it is your nutrition values. Taking on a balanced diet is fundamental so this organ can continue functioning correctly. But what is the worst thing you can add to your plate? In this video, I will tell you about 10 foods that can destroy your heart and affect your cardiac health. So starting off with number 1, we have those famous processed meats. Now, processed meats are the worst type of meat you can eat. They're called processed because they are preserved with various substances, including salts and nitrates. This group includes sausages, salami, ham, mortadella, and other cold meats. What affects your heart is the amount of sodium it contains, which initially raises your blood pressure, hardening the arteries, thereby reducing the flow of blood and oxygen to the heart. Processed meats are classified by the World Health Organization in the category of foods that can cause cancer. Studies report that they increase the risk of heart disease by 42% and the chances of suffering type 2 diabetes by 19%. Therefore, processed sausages are not part of a heart-healthy diet. The American Heart Association has concluded that men who eat moderate amounts of processed red meat may have an increased risk of heart failure incidence and mortality. It refers to meats preserved by systems with smoke, curing, salting, or adding preservatives, as is the case with sausages, ham, or bacon. So next up, we have salt. Reducing the ingest of salt can reduce blood pressure significantly in adults, according to WHO. This is why it's recommended to only ingest a maximum of 5 grams or a teaspoon of salt per day. We must consider that the great amount of salt we consume daily is found in prepared meals. This is why it's best to start reducing the amount of salt during cooking. Add half the amount of salt the recipe requires and escalate little by little until using only the necessary. And do not take the salt to your table. You can also replace salt for herbs and condiments, lemons, vinegar, pepper, or garlic. Salt can put your brain in danger by damaging blood vessels and elevating blood pressure, which is an important risk factor of strokes. It can also change the brainstem behavior, causing the regulation of blood pressure to malfunction. Salt contributes to increased water retention, which causes the heart to work a little extra. It can produce swollen legs, abdomen, and fatigue. The majority of foods already contain salt in their natural composition, which is why there is no need to add more when preparing or eating your meals. Here are a few pointers I'd like to recommend. First off, do not have salt at your table, as I mentioned. Do not add any more salt while cooking. Replace conservatives with fresh foods. And lastly, read the label of contents in the foods and check how many salt it really has. Remember to pick those with the least amount. Now, there are alternatives to salt. This is why I invite you to ask your health professional in your next visit, which one is recommended for you, because there are different diet salts in the market. Next up, we have French fries. Now, French fries are one of the most popular foods known to have a great amount of salt. Its high consume relates with a high risk of having hypertension and type 2 diabetes. The thing here is, it's not only the fries, but the amount of oil used for its preparation. This is why the recommendation here is to avoid fries in general, including chips. Remember, seed oils are extremely harmful when they reach high temperatures such as 180 degrees Celsius. This type of food can elevate cholesterol in blood, increasing the chance of suffering a heart and vascular brain disease. So next up, we have number 4 with cookies and sweets. These can often contain trans fat, which is why it's recommended to eliminate off any diet, above all, patients with heart problems. Its consume relates with what we call bad cholesterol, the increasing amount of vascular cardiac diseases, and type 2 diabetes. Trans fats have already been prohibited in some countries like the States and Canada due to the risk they represent. In general, the ingest of fats must only be monounsaturated and polyunsaturated kind, such as olive oil, dried fruits, or avocados. Next up, we have number 5, alcohol. If you consider yourself to be a healthy person and drink with moderation, there is no bigger problems. But if you suffer from high blood pressure or elevated triglycerides, the story is different. Alcohol can increase the risk of developing serious heart diseases. The excessive and daily consume can damage your heart just because alcohol is toxic for your cardiac muscle. It can get to weaken it and cause a problem named dilated cardiomyopathy, which causes the heart to dilate and reduce the pumping strength, causing patients to suffer heart failure symptoms. The only effective treatment of this disease is a complete abstention of any type of alcohol, even if it's in small amounts. On the other hand, there are determined cardiac arrhythmias related to excessive alcohol ingest, like arterial fibrillation, which is a fast and chaotic heart rate. Next up, we have bread. A diet heavy in refined grains, such as white bread and muffins, may increase your risk for heart disease and early death, while whole grains may lower it, according to research. The findings don't prove that a diet heavy in refined grains causes stroke, heart attacks, or other forms of heart disease, only that there seems to be a link. We encourage people to have moderate consume of carbs and to have different types of grain, especially whole grain. People who reported eating 12 ounces of refined grains a day were found to have 27% higher odds of early death and a 33% higher risk of heart disease than those who limited their intake to less than 2 ounces a day. The findings show a diet heavy in refined grains was also linked to higher blood pressure. Whole grains contain fiber, vitamins, minerals, and protective phytochemicals that are important for your health. In contrast, refined grains contain no fiber. They're found in sugary cereals, white bread, cookies, cakes, muffins, crackers, and other desserts. When we consume an overabundance of refined grains, meaning the fiber and nutrients have been removed, we deprive our bodies of these health-promoting nutrients, and they are often replaced with sugar, saturated fat, sodium, and empty calories. We can all benefit by including more whole grains, such as quinoa, barley, kasha, whole wheat oats, and corn in our daily fare. Next up, we have dairy. Although it is advisable to consume 2 daily servings of dairy products, those containing added sugars should be avoided. In addition, cured cheeses, for example, are prohibited foods for tachycardia and for people with hypertension. It is also recommended to reduce the consume of butter and cream and the consume of margarine, one of the main bad foods for the heart that should be avoided. What you have to keep in mind is that in addition to calcium, dairy products tend to have a large amount of saturated fat, and excessive consume of saturated fat can increase LDL cholesterol in the blood, thereby increasing the risk of heart and stroke disease. Excessive consume of cheeses can be harmful to heart health. This is because although they have nutrients such as protein and calcium, they are generally high in sodium. It is also a good idea to substitute butter, margarine, and mayonnaise. We're not necessarily talking about removing them from your diet, but at least replacing 10 grams per day of these fats with the same amount of olive oil. So next up, we have number 8 with sodas without sugar. Yes, The light or zero versions of soft drinks are harmful if consumed in excess. They certainly do not contain fat or calories, but there are already studies that show the dark side of these drinks. And it is that many people tend to compensate for the lack of sugar and calories after drinking sugar-free sodas. Thus, they end up consuming more calories later, which can lead to obesity and diabetes. But the greatest danger is believing that they are harmless and abusing their consumption. Research is currently underway on how these drinks can alter gastrointestinal bacteria and make you more prone to weight gain. Next up, we have seed oils. Edible oils extracted from plants are commonly known as vegetable oils. In addition to their use in cooking and baking, they're found in processed foods, including salad dressings, margarine, mayonnaise, and cookies. Common vegetable oils include sunflower, soybean, and canola oil. Using vegetable oil from seeds, legumes, or nuts is an increasingly common practice in kitchens around the world. Many consider them a healthy substitute for butter, as they are reputed to have less saturated fat. However, some studies have questioned these claims in recent years, warning that oils marketed as vegetable oils are not as good as is believed. In fact, they can be harmful to our health, and vegetable is not always a synonym for healthy. The blame is mainly on the omega-6 they contain, which can cause inflammation within our body, increasing the chances of us suffering from diseases such as arthritis, depression, or skin cancer. It can harm cells and may be increasing chances of getting a heart disease. And lastly, we have meat lovers, pizza. After cold cuts and cured meats, pizza ranked second on the American Heart Association's list of salty 6 foods. Other salt bombs to watch for include soups, condiments, and salad dressings. Pizza's sodium content, as well as its saturated fat, goes way up as you pile on extra cheese and meat-based toppings. When eating out or getting delivery, limit yourself to 1, maximum 2 slices, and opt for veggie toppings instead. Following cheese, pizza is the second biggest contributor of heart-taxing saturated fat in the US. Rather than ordering a large pie for a movie night in, stick to just 1 slice and pair it with a side salad to help promote satiety and up your intake of fiber, a macro that helps lower bad cholesterol and keep your ticker in top health. What bad habits affect the heart? If there is an imbalance in the daily diet, pathologies that are difficult to control, such as obesity, can be suffered. Junk food has a high content of harmful fats for the body that can block arteries and veins through which blood is transported. This means that the chances of suffering a heart attack, hypertension, or some cardiovascular diseases, such as atrial fibrillation, increase. While healthy eating is easy to process, junk food in conjunction with lack of exercise, constant stress, and more make food heavy. The body takes time to digest, and the activities of the day are very exhausting. By taking longer for food to be processed, the body focuses on recomposing the energy spent during the day and, incidentally, getting more energy to eat heavy foods. Bad habits such as not having breakfast, eating foods with a lot of carbs for dinner, eating lots of fats a day, drinking alcohol can radically change your life in a negative way. You have more risk of suffering from diabetes, a depressed immune system, cardiovascular accidents, among others. In conclusion, avoiding these foods could significantly influence your cardiovascular health. These have been the 10 foods that I recommend you should include in your diet. It will help greatly to control your blood glucose level and other affections. If you have a chance, comment below what you think. Don't forget to share with your family and friends, and I invite you to subscribe. Till next time.